Hey beauties, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. So today's video is going to be my first ranking video, and I'm actually going to be ranking the Urban Decay Naked line. They have so many eyeshadow palettes, and I originally came up with this idea when the new eyeshadow palette of the Wild West, Naked Wild West palette came out, and I'm not gonna lie, obsessed with that palette. But I had been watching so many ranking palette videos from Just Steph and Alejandra Lisset. They typically love to talk about eyeshadow palettes, so I am definitely giving credit to where it's due. They inspired this type of video for me, and so did that palette. So if you guys are interested to see how I ranked the Naked line, then just stick around and keep on watching. If you guys aren't familiar with Urban Decay has released several naked eyeshadow palettes. And obviously if you follow me and if you follow other people, I'm pretty sure that you're a makeup obsessed, makeup addict or collector like I am. So you most likely know all of the eyeshadow palettes. And so all I did is I took the 9 naked eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. There are a total of 10 eyeshadow palettes, and I'm not including the mini ones. I didn't take the time to look up the mini ones, but I'll probably do it after I'm done editing this video, but I'll go ahead and leave it on the screen for you guys to see how many mini palettes is and what the total is as far as the Naked line. But it originally did start with the Naked palette, and then so on we kept kind of going, and the whole point of the Naked line is that you're able to do really pretty how can I put it? Really pretty everyday makeup looks that it's almost like your skin but better, like your face is naked but you're wearing makeup. If that makes sense. But that's honestly the whole point of the Naked line. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to list the 9 palettes that I have from the Naked line. I don't have all of them, so I'm missing only one out of all the actual full pan palettes or larger pan palettes. So I only have 9, so I'm going to be going from 9 to my top 1. So coming in at number 9 is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette, which is this one right here. This palette was originally released in 2016, and I believe my mom actually bought this for me for Christmas, for me and my sister actually. So I still have the brush here obviously, and then that's what the eyeshadow palette looks like. Now this palette was originally rated as being a full-on matte palette, but it actually does have a like shimmery shade right here. It's more like a satin, almost shimmery finish. Now because it is majority matte, I don't typically lean to this eyeshadow palette. It is very pretty, it works very well. The formula is a little bit more on the drier side, but that is to be expected with a matte eyeshadow palette. The problem is with me is that I typically don't wear solid mattes. I typically like to have some type of shimmer, some type of glow, but you can still make really pretty looks with this. I typically like using this in combination with other eyeshadows. When I was really obsessed with using my ColourPop Super Shock shadows, this was the palette that I would reach for, or at least one of them anyways, because they were all mattes. But that's the only reason that this palette is coming in at number 9 at the bottom of the list, is because it is an all mattes palette, and that's not necessarily my cup of tea. However, I do really like this palette. As you guys can see, I did put some use to it. Lean that back in for you guys to look at. You can tell these shadows are used, but they're not overly abused. So I did have to rank this as the lowest one. Doesn't necessarily mean that I don't enjoy this eyeshadow palette. It just means that it doesn't get as much love as my other eyeshadow palette. Coming in at number 8 is the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. This one I had to rank it as my second lowest, only because regardless of what eyeshadows I use, and go ahead and for those of you who aren't familiar with the eyeshadow palettes, that's what she looks like. Regardless of what eyeshadows I use in this palette, most of the looks end up looking exactly the same, unless I go like super deep with these. But for everyday usage, I won't go into these eyeshadows. I typically tend to use these more in the outer corner just to give a little bit more depth to my eyeshadow look and just give it like a little bit more of that smoky effect, or I'll use it on the under eye part. But yeah, this one doesn't get as much love. It's very, very pretty. I do enjoy the eyeshadow palette. I enjoy all my eyeshadow palettes, I'm not gonna lie. But for that reason, just because all the looks typically tend to look the same, I would definitely say this palette is more for beginner friendly. But again, this is another eyeshadow palette. It doesn't get too much love in my collection just because, again, most of the looks out of this palette look the same. At number 7, and I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. Yes, the Heat palette. So originally, when I first started using this palette, and she did get quite a bit of love, so go ahead and show you guys here. Like, I'm not even sure how to hold the eyeshadow palette. But as you can see, this eyeshadow palette has been used a little bit more than the other two. But the more I use it, the less I like it, and for the same reason that I don't typically lean to the Naked 3 is because most of the eyeshadow looks that I do using this eyeshadow palette look exactly the same. So regardless of what shades that I use, and Urban Decay Naked line, they're really known for the blendability, but sometimes though, when the more colors you use, the more they kind of blend. They're so close in contrast with the colors. I mean, they're so close and colored that there isn't that much contrast in between the colors. So the more that you blend, the more that they kind of just turned into the same solid color, if that makes sense. So most of your looks end up looking the same. Now, if you're someone that doesn't mind that type of eyeshadow look, then you would probably enjoy the Naked Heat or the Naked 3 palette, because you would get good use out of every color, and there's no way that you could go super wrong with them because they all blend out like a dream. But for me, I get bored using them, so I know I feel horrible saying it because I do like it, but if I have to rank them, it's on one of my bottom. It's my bottom third. I think bottom 3. Yeah. Coming in at number 6 is the original Naked palette. So the Naked palette I actually really do enjoy, and this one's a little bit, well, not so new anymore, but this is a newer Naked palette. I did repurchase it before they, you know, called it quits on this palette, the one that died. But I actually really enjoy this because you do get a variety of shades, and there are more on the cooler tone side, but you do also have like some pinky shades, a little bit brown like shades, and just like cooler shades. But this eyeshadow palette's really pretty. I think it's really well done, and you can actually create a lot of different looks with it. The only reason I put it down is because it's not necessarily the color tone that I like. It leans a little bit more cool tone, and I like a little bit more warmer shades. So every time I do use this, I always have trouble pairing it with like blush, with lipstick, with almost anything in general, to be quite honest. But I do like this eyeshadow palette, and this one again is in the 6th place. Coming in at number 5, we have the Naked 2 palette. The Naked 2 palette is a little bit similar from the Naked palette, and it's a little bit more cooler toned than the other one. But again, the reason that I do like this eyeshadow palette is because I felt like I was able to create a whole bunch of different looks. They're more cool toned, that's why they're not as high. But the reason I did place this one a little bit higher than the actual Naked palette is because I felt like I was able to create more looks using this eyeshadow palette than I did using the Naked palette. And for me, honestly, what keeps me from, like, I love eyeshadows. Eyeshadows are my favorite part of makeup. It's the one thing that you can always do something different. You can apply blush, but it's always going to be here. Like, you're not going to put blush on your forehead, and if you do, well, but you know, cool, keep doing it. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not something. This is the most creative part of your makeup, is what I'm trying to say, is the eyeshadows. The eyeshadows, you could create endless amounts of looks with different colors. There's always so many different looks. There's half cut crease, there's cut creases, there's smoky eye, there's reverse smoky eye, you know, there's so many things. There's the ombre effect that you could do. So many different eyeshadow looks that you can do. So eyeshadows for me are my favorite part of makeup. And when I have an eyeshadow palette, when I have one eyeshadow palette in particular where I only have to reach into one and create a bunch of different looks, for me, that keeps my interest longer. So this one kept my interest a little bit longer than the Naked palette, and that's why I ranked it higher than that one. Okay, coming in at number 4 is the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. So this palette, she's very pretty. If my camera can focus on it. This palette is gorgeous. Now, it doesn't look like it's very used. And that's because she's still pretty new to my collection. I've only pulled her out a couple of times. And I did reach for this quite a bit when I had these out. So if you watch my my stash, so I always get tongue-tied. If you watch my shop my stash, then you guys notice that I haven't been picking any eyeshadow palettes. Well, this is why. I was reaching throughout only my naked palettes so that I would be able to rank them for you guys. And I did reach for this one quite a bit. I love the warm yellow tones in it. I love the honey brown tones in it. I love how there's like these like coppery shades here, or like super like honey dark brown shades here. I don't even know how to describe the colors, I'm sorry. But I absolutely love this eyeshadow palette. I use this a couple of times for family events for my husband's side of the family when we had like little barbecue things, or like their family was just getting together. But really pretty eyeshadow palette. I highly recommend this one, honestly, you guys. So this one is in my top 4. Now this next one I was a little surprised because when I first used it I didn't feel like I was that impressed, but I did find myself reaching for it a little bit more than the other eyeshadow palettes. So this one's coming in at number 3. This is the Naked or the Urban Decay Naked Ultra Violets palette, and this palette has a lot of mixed reviews when it comes to YouTube, Instagram, and even TikTok. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. Some people said that they weren't even wowed by it. But this is what the eyeshadow palette looks like, and as you can tell, this one was pretty used. I mean, look at that shade right here. Oh, this one. So I actually dipped into this eyeshadow palette quite a bit in the last, like, I want to say 2 months that I've been using the Urban Decay Naked line, and I love the looks that I came up with this. I wish I would have taken pictures of all the looks, but I was, most of the time it was for work and I was always in a rush, so I wasn't able to do that for you guys. But this eyeshadow palette is super pretty. I love this look here. It looks like really purple in the pan, but when you put it, it's almost like an iridescent blue. Oh, so pretty. But I loved all the looks that I created using this eyeshadow palette, especially that I was able to get really warm tones, just kind of sticking with these right here. But really pretty. I was able to create some looks that I didn't think I would be able to create using this eyeshadow palette. And again, the reason why it's higher up in rank is because I'm able to create so many different looks. So that's why this one I picked a little bit higher over the Naked Honey, even though the Naked Honey is like more of a color scheme that I like. Kind of does the same thing as the other palettes, where if you use several eyeshadows that it kind of ends up all looking the same. With this one you can create like a bunch of different looks. Not as many as other palettes, but you can still create different looks using this eyeshadow palette. We only got 2 eyeshadows left, you guys, only 2. But we're gonna go ahead and and rank them, and I'm pretty sure you guys aren't gonna be surprised. Coming in at number 2, we have the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette, and this one was a major surprise for me because I didn't even want this palette. The only reason I purchased this palette was because it was on sale. I purchased this one and the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette because they were both on sale, and I was like, well, can't hurt buying them if they're on sale. Plus I was using my Ulta points. But this one, oh my god, is another one that I did use over and over again. So she's not as used, just kind of like the Naked Honey one, but again, because these are newer ones to my collection, I did get these after the Ultra Velvet palette. So I didn't have as much use into these as the other palettes, but really enjoyed creating looks with these. I was able to do a lot of pinky looks with these, but they were really pretty and I actually really liked it. I liked how I was able to go like really soft and pinky and like romantic looking, and then I was also able to go like really deep. And even though the colors are still the same, kind of like the rest of them, I was able to create different looks. Like I guess with the other ones, this one has enough contrast basically to make the looks look different, where you know like they're different looks. And with the rest of them, or the majority of them I should say, they blend out so pretty, but the colors aren't that different that they all kind of blend and look the same. But yeah, I really enjoyed this palette. I was shocked. shocked to come to that realization, like, girl, you like that palette. And coming in at number 1, and it is no surprise, and I'm sure you guys saw it, is the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette. Oh my god, this palette is amazing. Absolutely love it. Run out and buy it before they're all gone. I still don't know if they're actually gonna discontinue this. They said it was just for a limited time only, but this palette is absolutely gorgeous. I love the color story in this palette, and yes, you can get the same color story from other palettes that are less expensive, but are they gonna blend like a dream like this palette? So regardless of whatever other eyeshadow palettes that I have that has this color story, Urban Decay's line of the Naked line is that they blend perfectly. I love their Naked line, and I didn't realize how much I liked them until I started going through my collection and seeing that I almost have every single palette, but they blend amazing and they look beautiful. If you want them to be vibrant, they can be vibrant. If you want them to be very subtle and just like, you know, something like yourself but better type of look, you could do that too. And with this eyeshadow palette, you can create endless amounts of looks. I got cool tones, I've got warm tones, I've got a little bit of everything in this eyeshadow palette, and it is beautiful. I think Urban Decay honestly outdid themselves. Don't come out with any more Naked palettes, please. I think you're done. I think you're done with this one. Just keep this one in your line, and I think you're done. Oh my god, but this palette is absolutely amazing. So from 2010 up until 2021, they have released 10 full-size eyeshadow palettes, and those are all of them. I have all but one. The only one that I didn't pick up was the Naked Smoky Eye, which I believe came out in 2015. I'm not entirely sure. But you guys, that is basically it. I hope you guys truly did enjoy this video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to post 2 times a week, every Wednesday and Saturday. Every Wednesday is going to be an additional beauty video, kind of like this one, and every Saturday is going to be a shop my stash or a family time vlog. If that is something that you are interested in, then go ahead and subscribe and join my beauty community here on YouTube. But that is all, love. Leave me in the comments down below which palette is your favorite, because I know we all have different choices and preferences. Until next time, bye!